Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going deep into something people don't often talk about openly. It's about the connection between money and mental health. We all know about budgeting tips, but we're going way beyond that today. We're going to explore those tricky emotions that come with money stuff.
Yeah, it really is interesting how we tend to separate those two parts of our well-being. We act like money and mental health are totally different things.
But they're really not, are they? It's not just about dollars and cents, is it? It's about how money makes you feel the stress, the anxiety that can come up. And honestly, I think we've all felt that way at some point, haven't we? So today we're going to really dig into how those feelings can affect our money decisions.
Absolutely. And more importantly, how we can heal and have a better relationship with money.
Exactly. Are you ready to dive in?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, awesome. So one of the first things to understand is that money and mental health are connected in both directions. I mean, it's not just that mental health problems can lead to financial problems, though that definitely happens.
Right. And it can be a tough cycle to break. For example, someone who is having a manic episode might just go on a huge spending spree.
Yeah.
That can create a lot of debt and make things much harder later on.
It's like a domino effect, isn't it? One thing leads to another, and it can be hard to stop it.
That's exactly right. But it goes the other way, too. Financial problems can really make mental health worse, too. Think about that constant worry of debt, that stress of just trying to make ends meet.
Yeah, like the fear of maybe losing your house.
Right. Those are heavy burdens, and they can make things like anxiety and depression a lot worse.
And the research shows just how serious this is. People who are struggling with debt, well, they're much more likely to try to take their own lives. It's scary to think about.
It is. But there's hope.
Yeah, it's a wake-up call, but it's also a call to action because this cycle, it can be broken.
Right. We can recognize the connection and understand that things can get better.
Okay. So we talked about how mental health can impact our money, but what about the other way around?
Well, there's this concept I think we need to talk about. It's called financial toxicity.
Financial toxicity. Okay, that sounds kind of scary. Tell me more.
Yeah, it's a strong term.
Yeah.
But it describes how financial stress can be really bad for our well-being. And it's really common in healthcare. Treatment costs can be just unbelievably high.
I know what you mean. I've heard stories about people going bankrupt because of medical bills.
It's tragic. Imagine fighting a serious illness and also worrying about those huge medical bills.
It's like a double whammy, isn't it? You need treatment to get better, but it could cost you everything.
Exactly. This kind of financial stress can push people to make tough choices. Skipping meds, delaying treatment.
Even giving up on essential things, right?
Yeah, it just adds so much more suffering to an already difficult situation.
It's like being trapped. You need help, but the help itself could ruin you.
That's a good way to put it. And it's not just about extreme cases like cancer. Even the general cost of healthcare is a big source of stress for many people.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, so let's change gears a bit and talk about how our experiences with money, even from the past, can affect us today. Has you ever heard of financial trauma?
Oh, yeah. Financial trauma is like a scar. It's the emotional damage that can happen from tough experiences with money.
So it's not just about the money itself, but how those experiences made you feel.
Exactly. Like, let's say you grew up where money was always tight. Or maybe you lost your job or went through bankruptcy.
Those are really tough things to go through.
They are, and they can stick with you, affecting how you think and act about money years later.
So it's almost like post-traumatic stress disorder, but with money.
That's a good way to think about it. Financial trauma can show up in different ways. You might get really anxious about money even if you're doing okay financially.
Right, or maybe you just avoid dealing with money altogether.
Exactly. Or you might start doing unhealthy things like spending too much or hoarding.
It sounds like it could really stop people from reaching their financial goals. And from having a good life, really.
It absolutely can. And when that constant stress and anxiety gets to be too much, it can lead to something called financial burnout.
Financial burnout, what's that?
It's like that feeling of just being completely drained, when you've been dealing with money stress for a long time and you just hit a wall. You just don't have the energy to deal with it anymore.
I think a lot of people can relate to that, especially with everything that's been going on in the economy lately.
Definitely. Financial burnout can make you want to avoid anything to do with money. Ignoring bills, forgetting about your budget, and just basically pretending it doesn't exist.
So is that what you mean by financial disconnect?
Yes, that's exactly it. And while it's understandable, it usually makes things worse in the long run.
It's like a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
You get stressed, you avoid it, and it just keeps getting worse.
That's right.
But I think it's important to remember that we all have struggles with money sometimes. It's just part of life, right?
Absolutely. It's completely normal. The key is to just recognize how you're feeling and be willing to ask for help if you need it.
And that brings us to our next topic, financial social work. Can you tell us more about that? How can it help people fix their relationship with money?
Of course. Financial social work is about looking at the whole picture. It recognizes that our money and our mental health are totally connected.
So it's not just about numbers and budgets.
No, it's not. It's about understanding why we act the way we do with money and learning healthy ways to cope.
So is it kind of like therapy, but for your finances?
You could say that, yeah. Financial social work helps people figure out what they really believe about money, deal with any trauma from the past, and learn how to manage their finances in a way that's good for them.
That's really cool. It's about giving people the power to take control of their money
Right.
and make choices that are good for them.
Exactly. And a big part of financial social work is the idea of self-care. Taking care of your mental health is just as important as being responsible with your money.
Yeah, it's easy to forget about self-care when you're busy and stressed.
It is. Financial social work encourages people to do things that help them relax and build strength. Things like mindfulness, exercise, spending time in nature, or doing hobbies they enjoy.
It's a good reminder that taking care of yourself is important. It helps you be your best in every part of your life, including your finances.
I couldn't agree more. It's about understanding that we all deserve to be happy and healthy.
I love that. Okay, so let's talk about something that's often a big trigger for people. The feelings we have about money.
Money can make us feel so many different things. Happy, secure, scared, anxious, ashamed.
Even angry.
Yes, all of those feelings are normal, and it's important to recognize them. They tell us a lot about how we relate to money.
I think sometimes we try to hide those feelings, especially the bad ones. We think we shouldn't be stressed about money or we should be doing better, but trying to ignore them doesn't really work, does it?
Not at all. In fact, it can make things worse.
So how do we deal with those feelings? How do we start having a better relationship with money?
That's what we're going to talk about next. We'll dive into some practical strategies to manage those emotions, change how we think, and feel more empowered and happy with money. So before the break, we were talking about how draining financial stress can be and how it can lead to burnout. But now I think it's time to look at what we can actually do about it. How can we build a healthier, less stressful relationship with money?
Yes, exactly. Because just realizing that money is affecting you emotionally is a good first step. But then it can feel kind of overwhelming, Like, where do you even begin to sort it all out?
You're absolutely right. It is a lot to take in. It's really about tackling both the practical stuff and the feelings you have about money. And one really powerful tool is something called financial self-care.
Financial self-care, that's not something you hear every day. What does that even mean?
Well, think about it like being mindful, but this time you're being mindful about your money. You're paying attention to your finances in a way that helps you, not stresses you out. So maybe you set aside a little time each week, even just 15 minutes, to check in with your money. Look at your budget, see how much is in your accounts, and think about what you might need to spend in the coming week.
So instead of waiting until things get out of control and you have to react, you're being proactive and staying on top of things.
That's it. Financial self-care is all about those small, consistent things you do to feel more in charge of your money. It could be as simple as writing down everything you spend for a week, setting up those automatic transfers to your savings account, or finally dealing with those bills you've been putting off.
Oh, I definitely know about those piles of unopened bills.
Yeah.
But breaking those big, scary tasks into smaller, easier steps makes a lot of sense.
Right. And don't forget to give yourself credit when you do something good. Did you stick to your budget? Put an extra $20 towards debt? Those small wins are a big deal. They keep you motivated.
I love that. It's about celebrating progress, not being perfect. And speaking of changing our perspective, I think one of the biggest things we need to do to heal our relationship with money is to change those negative thoughts and beliefs that are holding us back.
Absolutely. Those voices in our heads that tell us we're bad with money or we'll never get ahead, they can be so loud.
Oh, they can be so mean, those inner critics. But we don't have to believe them, right?
No, we don't. We can start by noticing those thoughts and then challenging them.
I get what you're saying, but it's easier said than done. How do we actually shut those voices up?
It definitely takes practice. One thing that can help is to try and flip those negative thoughts into positive ones. Instead of saying, I'm terrible with money, you could say, I'm learning and getting better with money every day.
So instead of focusing on all the things we're doing wrong, we can focus on the fact that we're learning and growing.
Exactly. It's about having more compassion for yourself. And remember, you don't have to do this alone. There are lots of people who can help you.
Right, it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
What are some resources you recommend for people who need help with money or their mental health?
Oh, there are so many great resources out there. There are therapists who specialize in financial therapy. They can help you figure out how your emotions and past experiences are affecting your money habits. Certified financial planners can give you advice on budgeting, investing, and planning for the future. And credit counselors can help you manage debt and improve your credit score.
It's like having a coach, but for your money.
Yeah, exactly. And support groups can be really helpful too. Talking to other people who are going through similar things can be really comforting.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that we're not alone in this. Okay, so you've talked about getting help from professionals and support groups, but what about setting boundaries? I usually hear about that when talking about relationships, but how does setting boundaries apply to money?
Setting boundaries with money is crucial. It protects our well-being and helps us reach those financial goals. Sometimes it means saying no to things that would stretch our budget too thin. Or it could be choosing to save for our own goals instead of trying to keep up with what everyone else is doing. And sometimes it means taking a break from social media or all those ads that make us feel like we need to buy more stuff.
I see how that can be really helpful. It's about being in control of how you interact with money, not letting it control you.
That's it. It's about creating a healthier, more balanced relationship with money so it doesn't run your life.
And that makes a lot of sense. Speaking of things that can feel a bit overwhelming, let's talk about the economy. A lot of people are worried about a recession. What can we do to manage those worries and make smart decisions when things feel so uncertain?
I totally get why people are anxious. It's natural to be afraid when the economy feels shaky, especially if you've been through tough financial times before.
It can feel like everything is out of control, like the rug could be pulled out from under you at any moment.
And while we can't control the economy, we can control how we respond to it. Instead of letting fear stop us from doing anything, we can use this as a chance to get our finances in order.
So it's about taking charge of what we can control.
Exactly. A good place to start is by looking at your budget. Are there places you can cut back on spending, even just a little?
It's about being thoughtful about where your money goes.
Right. And if you haven't started already, now's the time to build up that emergency savings fund. Even putting aside a small amount each month can make a big difference if you have a sudden expense or lose your job.
Knowing you have some savings to fall back on can make you feel a lot less anxious. But what about debt? That feels really scary with interest rates going up.
You're right. Managing debt is super important right now. If you have debt with high interest rates, like credit cards, look into things like debt consolidation or balance transfers. Those can lower your interest rate and make your payments easier to handle.
And talking to a financial advisor or credit counselor can be really helpful too, can it? They can help you come up with a plan that works for your situation.
Absolutely. And remember, even when the economy feels unpredictable, there are things you can do to learn more about money and make smarter choices. There are tons of free resources online at community centers, even at your local library. The more you know, the more confident you'll feel.
That's so true. Knowledge really is power, especially when it comes to money. So we've talked about the practical side of things. Now, can you remind us again how we can start to feel better about money emotionally, even when things are tough?
It goes back to those ideas of self-compassion and changing how we think. It's really important to remember that you're not defined by your bank account.
It's so easy to feel like your worth is tied to how much money you have.
It is, but money is just a tool. It's important, but it shouldn't control your happiness. Try to focus on what you're grateful for, even if it seems small. That can help you feel better about where you are right now.
It's about appreciating what we have instead of always wanting more.
Exactly. And remember, there are lots of people out there who want to make the world a better, fairer place when it comes to money.
And that's a perfect way to transition to our last part of this deep dive, where we'll talk about how we can change the conversation about money from a personal level to a bigger societal level. Stay with us. So we've been talking about how our mental health and money are so connected. And it's making me think, it can't just be about us fixing things on our own, right? What about the bigger picture? Like, how can we as a society make things better when it comes to money and well-being for everyone?
That's a really important question. It's not enough to just teach people how to budget or save. We need to look at the bigger problems that cause so much stress and inequality in the first place.
Yeah, like we're telling people to swim when there's no water in the pool.
Yeah.
We need to build that foundation first.
Exactly. Things like making sure people earn a living wage, having access to affordable housing, healthcare that doesn't cost a fortune, and education that doesn't bury you in debt. Those are the building blocks of financial well-being.
It's about making sure people don't fall into those financial holes in the first place, because once you're in one, it's so much harder to climb out.
Absolutely. And we need to stop making people feel ashamed when they have money problems. We've gotten better at talking about mental health, but we need to do the same for money.
Yeah, it's like people are scared to admit they're struggling, like it means they're not good enough. But everyone goes through tough times with money, right?
It's true. We need to create a space where people feel safe talking about money, asking for help, and sharing their experiences without judgment.
We can learn so much from each other, right?
Absolutely. And we need to start young, too. Imagine if kids learned about money in school. Things like budgeting, saving, investing, and making smart choices.
I wish they had taught me that stuff in school. It would give kids so much confidence and set them up for success later in life.
I agree. And it's not just about the practical skills, it's about building a healthy relationship with money from the start. Understanding that it's just a tool and not something that defines you as a person.
So it's about shifting away from thinking there's not enough to go around and believing that everyone can have financial well-being.
Exactly. And it's about supporting each other, sharing resources, giving advice, and celebrating each other's wins.
It's like creating this wave of positivity where one person's success helps others succeed too.
That's a great way to put it. It all starts with each of us. Taking care of our own finances, learning more about money, asking for help when we need it, and speaking up for change.
It's a journey, not a race, and we can all contribute to creating a world where everyone has a healthy and happy relationship with money.
I love that. Remember, you're not alone in this. There are people and resources out there to support you, and your choices and actions can make a difference.
So to everyone listening, as you keep exploring this connection between your money and your well-being, remember to be kind to yourself, ask for help when you need it, and believe that things can change. Until next time, happy diving.